In a world grappling with geopolitical tensions, the relationship between the United States and China stands at a critical juncture. While Secretary of State Antony Blinken is planning to visit China in the coming weekend, a section of the American media is drumming up hysteria, accusing China of setting up an electronic listening post in Cuba,
假的真不了。
a claim that has been strongly refuted by China's foreign ministry.
There is a ground stop on our airport.
Blinken's last planned visit to China in February was abruptly called off due to a similar hysteria over a Chinese weather balloon. Will Blinken eventually make it to Beijing? And if he does, what will it mean for China-US relations and larger geopolitics? To find out more, we spoke with seasoned American peace activist Joseph Gerson. Welcome to CGTN, Mr. Gerson.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
If we notice the timing of the Cuba report, do you think it somehow indicates that there are forces within the US that want to disrupt any potential China-US dialogue? In fact, Chinese ambassador to the US, Xie Feng, recently noted that China and the United States once had 100-plus dialogue mechanisms, but all were shelved in the past few years.
It's hard to measure. And, I think on the one hand, while there's a desire for dialogue and to prevent between armed conflict between the United States and China, the reality is that the Biden administration is pursuing maximization of U.S. influence across the Indo-Pacific area. I think even in China, there's a diversity of views, and we certainly have a strong diversity of views here in the United States. And so I'm sure that on both sides of the Pacific now, we have forces who are doing whatever they can to insulate the diplomatic process from outside intervention. So we'll see how it plays out.
Last month, at an event hosted by the Washington Post, Blinken reiterated that the US is in a competition with China, but also insisted that Washington has a strong interest in ensuring that competition doesn't veer into conflict. Is Blinken sincere when he says this?
I think that's true, but it doesn't call into question the depth of the competition that's taking place and the forces that both sides are applying in the competition. As the U.S. national security strategy says, we are now in a competition with great powers to shape how the new world order is going to be formed. We're in an absolutely transformational moment. So I think that while the commitment to competition is very deep, the hope is that unlike when kids are playing chicken on their bicycles, that they'll be able, wise heads will be able to contain the competition. I think one important way forward would be to reestablish military-to-military dialogue, so that when there are unanticipated incidents, as will happen because that's life, that the militaries and the senior administration officials on both sides can be in touch with one another and find ways to keep any tensions from escalating.
So you talk about military-to-military exchanges, but as we speak, there are U.S. sanctions against Chinese Defense Minister Li Shangfu. And Ambassador Xie Feng has articulated China's position, saying it surely is not the right way to seek dialogue and cooperation while putting the others on the sanctions list. How do you see this contradiction?
Yeah, I fully agree. The sanctions are not helpful. While we do have very serious differences, the interlocutors have to be treated with respect. I think one of the challenges here in the United States overall in relationship to the U.S.-China relationship is to help Americans understand that even as we have differences, that it's important that both sides treat one another with respect that they deserve.